I'm looking behind you, and I'm seeing a lot of books, a lot of book covers. There ain't much on there, are they? It used to be said, in the old days, books had awful covers and marvellous content. Nowadays, the opposite happens.
Yeah, you're probably right. That's not a bad catch-all to actually put over that, I would reckon. Yeah, books. Well, you're a bit of a lover of books, and you've worked in publishing, haven't you?
Yes.
So you should know a little bit about this, modern book covers. Let's be very blunt about this. Modern book covers often feel very uninspiring.
Because they are.
And I would say they are quite rubbish.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I've got no doubt that there are lots of people who would have a similar view on this, whether they're readers, perhaps even the designers would say the same sort of thing. So why are we trying out crap book covers?
Well, it says a lot about society, unfortunately. Because look at it from this point of view. I mean, it's different for New Zealand. We're not that big a market. But they reckon every year we are producing 2,600 books. We're publishing that amount. But at least a quarter of that gets pulped every year. And it's far worse in numbers if you look to the UK. Now, the last reliable data we had, fun enough, is way back 2009. In the UK, 77 million books were pulped in 1 year, and up to 1 million books per month are now pulped in Britain alone. Anything that goes out is not being bought, and I wonder if it's because it's not capturing people's attention. I mean, they're pretty samey, a lot of the books. Now, I'm holding up to you, you'll know this instantly, that book.
Yeah.
It's the whole of the Bible in a very small green leather cover. Now, there's no excuse then saying, oh, we can't use small sizes because you can't fit the text in. Well, if you get the Bible in, you can. But they all go for the same size. I think it's called Airport A4. Similar fonts. The front covers elevate the text over an image. Very flowery. Why? Because they're appealing to women. But they're all samey. They're all themed like women in raincoats heading off towards Paris. People aren't buying them. And that's why they're pulping them. And that's a terrible waste of paper.
Destroying books is a terrible thing, full stop, in my humble opinion. This is why I've got so many sat around me. I can't bear to get rid of them.
You
even
are
the ones
a collector par excellence.
I know. I guess that the sort of modern covers with the sort of visual trends that you talk about, that's flat design, the sans serif fonts and pastel colours, minimalist motifs, all of that type of thing, which seems to be in vogue at the moment. They do create a visual shorthand, don't they, that can be effective in drawing people's eye to. Thrillers are often dark covers, and they've got reds or yellow typography across them. Then you've got romance novels, get all of that soft, fluffy focus and illustrated with couples or women walking away with the umbrella type of thing. But it becomes very repetitive and it becomes very bland.
David Pearson said that the cover of a book is the beginning of a conversation between the author and the reader.
I think that's right.
What conversation are we starting up when it's not really grabbing our attention?
I will always look at a cover of a book. I will look for the story in the cover, so in the illustration. Terry Pratchett's Discworld. Kirby did all of the illustrations. You can almost tell what the story's going to be about by trying to decode it before I even open the page. And then seeing which characters are going to be which and how that's going to work. It's brilliant.
Yes, he was the original illustrator for many of the Discworld books.
Yeah.
He passed away in 2001. You are correct. I mean, it used to be in the 60s, well, probably going back even further than that, 20s, 30s, 40s, a publisher would commission an artist to render an image. So a lot of them are hand-drawn or painted, and they work because they must have read the book or have been given an advance copy, because they often reference very accurately what's in the book. But now it's stock images, it's computer generated, it's mishmashed, don't quite work, they feel soulless.
It's because we're now living in this algorithm driven design, aren't we? You could almost call it the Amazon ripple effect or the Amazon effect that has happened here. It's changed the rules. Covers are now designed to be seen as thumbnails. Yes. As opposed to that stuff that Kirby had with the Discworld things, which was really fine detail, really, really subtle, really impressive artistic nuance in all of that beautiful detail there. But that doesn't pop very well, does it, at 100 pixels? That just gets destroyed. So if it can't be pixelated down to a nice little thumbnail, no one's interested. Such a shame.
So if you've got a bland image from a distance that doesn't stand out. In fact, I did a photo of all the books that were on a display in a local bookstore. Only one stood out because, like you said, they tended to be dark covers. This one was orange. The other thing as well is the sheer number that are being printed. There's far too many. But I've never got over why could they, up until recent times, afford to get an artist, but now suddenly they can't. Why is that? What's changed?
The need to have one.
Possibly, but because obviously they just want to make pure profit. Why pay for an artist?
Completely. You can generate these things through AI. Books used to always be, whether it was the cover, whether it was illustrations inside of them, they were almost like miniature works of art inside with a very distinct artistic vision from the professionals that were doing it. But now you get big publishers with big teams, tight schedules, budget which is about making profit, not about actually delivering necessarily excellence. You get a limitation on creative freedom, and you've got all of this AI generated stuff that can just be a couple of strokes on the keyboard. We've got our warrior with his shield wearing armour. There's no artistic thought that's gone into it. What I've seen over the last 20 years, maybe, books not being as well illustrated. And when you do find a really nice book that's well illustrated, it grabs your attention.
We're looking at now a generic book site. We're just going to look at the front covers. And if you was to say any that would jump out at you, what would you say? The one that's jumping out of me has a bright orange top. Now that stands out because it's just general colours. It's like block art. But one thing I've noticed, count how many titles have the word "the" in it.
Quite a few.
Suddenly, it's got to be the thing. It's got to be short and pithy. A trend that's come in, getting ridiculous. I've seen lists of books where almost every book was the something. But generally, they're too busy, aren't they?
Yeah, they're very busy, and they are very similar across the board, aren't they? When you look across each row, they are all very, very similar in terms of the way that they're put together, the colours that they use, the fonts that they use. You can see a lot of similarity between them, I think.
Often they're pushing to the fore text. There's one, what is that image behind it? You can tell the title and who it's by, but what's the point of an image when you can't tell what it is? And often the text almost gets rid of the image because I think they know that they're using stock imagery.
They don't grab you by the short and curlies, do they?
Does it actually say anything about society? That we are accepting a lesser thing? We're old enough to know that in the 60s, 70s and 80s, you can go out and get a book and they were generally well produced and original artwork. In fact, somebody on BookTube has done books from the 70s and compared them to with a reprint in recent times, and nearly every case, bar one, out of about 8 or 9, the stuff from the past just stood out.
Yes, it does.
So why have we accepted this?
Because like we talked about last week, Mark, I think we've accepted mediocrity across life. And I think that we've accepted that in everything. You have to go to a very specific type of bookshop, I feel now, or you have to go to a second-hand bookshop to get yourself a real nice book.
Yes, unfortunately you do.
You do. And I know you do a bit of shopping in these second-hand bookshops. Yeah, look at that.
It's Shakespeare and it folds out. It's actually done for young adults.
What a cracking design.
But it's also pop-up stuff, folds out, there's little letters that come out. It's just great. Beautifully designed.
So it's incredibly interactive. It not only engages your reading ability, it engages your fingers. Very nicely put together.
It's a pleasure for adults and young children. It's beautifully done. But very rare. 2008.
So nearly 20 years ago then.
And that's only because somebody obviously had it and put it into a second-hand bookstore for other people to buy and enjoy. You wouldn't get that now.
In my opinion, we have dumbed down our society.
Yeah.
We have taught people to just obey, follow the herd, and if the masses have it, then it must be a good thing. We have not encouraged people to think critically, ask the right questions, and we've certainly not encouraged people to read books. I had to fly up to Wellington on Saturday, and I was looking at people on the plane to see how many of them were reading books. Me. I think I was the only one. Convenience, speed of the world, speed of society. To sit down and open a book up and to read something is almost like a dirty little secret now, because oh no, I can't snatch this time. I can't possibly curl up on the settee and tuck my feet up and open the pages of this book and lose myself in this for an hour.
I think there's two issues though. Trees are being knocked down, made into paper, and then we're putting these books out, they're not selling, and then having to be repulped. One of the big issues that we face as a society is that men generally are switching off from buying books and reading. Look at those books, and how many would appeal to men?
Cursory glance across it, I would be interested in perhaps reading 2 of them.
And therein lies the problem. In my own experience, I can honestly say that nearly every literary agent I've come across is a woman, predominantly white, middle class. That's why so many books are being published as you see them. So we do have an imbalance here. And this is not just books. You could roll this out to art.
Yeah.
You could say music. People say, yeah, but they're selling a lot. They're selling a lot. Well, yes, but then there's more of us now than was 40 years ago. But we're still wasting so much. So much is not being bought. And with the internet, with social media, it's even less likely someone's going to invest in music. Why would you go out and buy a record when you can get it from someone reacting to it on YouTube?
You will own nothing and you will be happy.
So we do have some ethical issues with this. It's not just books, but books as an example because it's so prevalent in society.
There are lots of issues around it, and I do wonder whether or not one day we will begin to wake up with some of this. Because I am aware that in certain parts there are certain people who are now actually going back to buying books because they are concerned that the digital media will be revised to such an extent that you won't actually know what the original really said.
Oh, interesting.
And there is something about having the printed page. There is something quite empowering about having a book in your hand that you can read, that you can dive into again and again and again, that's on your bookshelf, that can only be taken from that bookshelf if somebody was to come in and steal it or seize it, if it was a state-run thing, or if it was lost in a calamity of some description, fire, earthquake, flood, that type of stuff. So I think that there's something very nice about having these things, and I think that we need to protect them.
He who controls the past controls the future. He who controls the present controls the past. 1984.
What a great book.